Good morning, dudes. So, this is a cut test video. Now, we recently kind of got a little more scientific with our cut testing. We're cutting a very specific amount of cardboard for each test. We're doing a certain amount of cuts on everything. Everything's written down. We're getting a little more scientific with it. So I wanted to kind of create a baseline of a knife that does well with this test. I can't think of a better knife to do that with than the 15V Manix 2. It's the Manix. Thin slicey blade, full flat grind, 15V, badass blade steel, awesome edge, put on this by Lacey. And this knife's going to do amazing. So I wanted to, I've already done a cut test with this video with the old style testing. But I wanted to kind of establish what a knife can do with this test. A knife that I know will do well. So let's do it. I already know it's going to cut well, but it's going to be fun to see exactly how well. Can't wait. Let's get in and do it. All right, here we go. Let's see what this bad boy can do. I already know what it can do, and it's quite good. But let's just enjoy how well this knife cuts. There you go. This is not a factory edge. It is an edge put on by Lacey Lace EDC on Instagram. Cutting Lace EDC. She has a sharpening service if you're interested. Great edge. So I cut 20 feet of regular thickness cardboard, but I only have this 6-inch piece now, so I'm doing 40. And that'll make up the 20 feet. So here we go. Trying to do thin pieces so that I don't waste a lot of cardboard. We'll see if I can get all 40 out of this one piece. We'll see. I don't know. Well, I do know because I'm recording this after the fact. Anyways, this thing is one of my better cardboard cutters. It just, it's a full flat grind with thinner blade stock than a lot of my other Spydercos. Thinner than PM2, definitely thinner than the Shaman. At least full-size Spydercos. The Delica is thinner than this, actually, but as far as like full-size work knives, this has a pretty thin blade stock, but it's still robust at the same time. It's a slicer, man. It's one of my sliciest Spydercos. So cardboard is an easy task for this knife. And next we're moving to the triple thickness cardboard. This is tough for the knives with thicker geometry to push through. It's not really working putting the cardboard up on there because I don't like jamming the tip of my blade into the wood like that. So I'm just gonna try holding it. We're cutting 10 feet of this triple thickness stuff, and you have to apply more pressure to get through the cut. Obviously, with any knife you will, but this is passing through very nicely, very, very nicely. Alright, what's our edge looking like? Very good. Next, utility cuts. This has a pretty low tip. Spyderco blade shapes are kind of their own thing. Some people call them leaf-shaped blades. There are really a lot of them, at least this one, is technically probably just a drop point. But it has a low tip like you would see almost in like a sheep's foot blade too. So it's just kind of their own, they're just their own thing. But this is very good at utility cuts. You're not raising your wrist that high. You can see I was getting clean cuts, not leaving any cardboard uncut. Very, very nice. Let's do some curvies. Really good on this one. I didn't even have to break apart the cardboard at all. Just completely clean cut all the way through the turns. It's a thinner tip than a lot of Spydercos. Not thinner than the Yojimbo though. I heard that's like really, really thin. Alright, the glove. Let's roll this baby up and cut it. Like I said in the beginning, this is kind of to set a standard for knives in this new testing format. I figured this Manix would probably do better than a lot of my knives. It's probably one of the top performing knives in my my collection. Plus it's 15V, so you know, it's a high-end steel. So this will kind of provide a baseline of how a good knife should be performing. Of course, there's a bunch of variations. That's kind of the thing with these cut testing videos. It's hard to be 100% accurate. You know, there's way too many variables to have consistent, reliable results. It's impossible. But you can do things to minimize that. We're doing a little bit more of that nowadays with this new format. Alright, let's do some strap. You saw that the leather glove went very well. Big thanks to Brian for sending me in some strap. I had just run out of the strap that I had been using from an old broken ratchet strap. But he sent me a message saying that he had a bunch of this stuff laying around, and he mailed it to me. Super freaking nice, man. 3 of these rolls, so that should last me a pretty long time. I'm really stoked. It's the same exact stuff. It actually feels possibly a little bit tougher than the previous stuff, but that's not a bad thing. That's perfectly good. So you can see the Manix, it's leaving like literally a few strands left over. It's got to be a blade length thing, because, well, mostly a blade length thing, I would think. Because, yeah, it consistently left like only a very, very few little strands left dangling. Edge still feels actually a little pretty bitey. A little bit of stick still. Pretty bitey. The rope, polypropylene rope. Tough stuff. Tougher than the, you know, paracord type stuff. Tougher than nylon. This is tough rope. And it is absolutely not a problem. You can tell I'm not even pushing that hard at all. I'm like, compared to some cut tests, I'm like really putting my strength into it, trying to get through this rope. With the look, I'm doing it with 3 fingers. I was trying to demonstrate just how easy it was. That's the best I could come up with, but yeah, unbelievably easy. How's our edge now? We have suffered a little bit of dulling at this point. It's still cutting paper, but I definitely noticed a difference. It has definitely been a little bit dulled at this point, which is to be expected. You know, 15V is not magic. It is going to get dull eventually. But I think the main thing I noticed with 15V is it keeps that bite for a little longer than a lot of other blade steels. So I usually kind of carve into a 2x4. I don't have one right now. I'm still early at work, so the shop's not open yet. So I'm using this old drumstick that I found. Figure, why not? It's wood, right? So we're just carving some wood. This is really to test the ergonomics. You really kind of notice any hot spots when you're doing this kind of cutting, because you're doing like a turning motion, kind of almost a twisting motion. You're really gripping it hard. You know, the Manix really isn't the most comfortable knife ever. Far from it, actually. You know, compared to the Shaman, this is not a super comfortable knife. Now, it is very comfortable if you're kind of just medium strength gripping it. Very comfortable. But when you're really putting your might into it, your full grip, and you're doing, you know, that type of cutting, you will notice that the edges are not super rounded over. you know, the handles are not contoured. It's just flat G10. There's no real like hot spots per se, but the whole thing is just a little angular, a little you know, not super rounded off. We're stropping now to see how it responds. 10 strokes per side. Another cool thing about 15V is, you know, great edge retention, but also pretty easy to strop back. You'll see after just this little bit of stropping, it vastly improved the sharpness. So that's pretty sweet. A lot of these real hard steels, M390, 20CV, they don't strap back that easily just because they're so hard. But check it out. Vast improvement on the sharpness front from just a little bit of stropping. So that's sweet. I like that a lot. 15V's real main downside is it's not corrosion resistant. In fact, I have a couple of rust spots on this knife. The first time I've ever gotten any rust on a knife, period. I just don't live in a climate where that really happens. So I was surprised to see those little rust spots show up. It's really not that noticeable, and I'm just going to let it patina and do its own thing. I really don't care, but that is something to note. There you have it. That's how a super steel in a really awesome design does on the cut tests. That's an example of just you know, high performance on the testing here. So that'll give you an idea of how well knives are doing in the future when we use different blade steels, maybe more budget oriented knives, maybe even more expensive knives. Hopefully that was helpful. I love you guys, and please like the video before you head out. I'd appreciate it. See you in the next one.